Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Blind Spot. A great episode. Kind of doing what they had done previously. Kind of doing that thing of kind of like, doing these stories like one by one. I'm blanking on it, but there was an episode like a couple episodes back in this season that they did something like this. And I like that they did it in the sense of like, because everyone is being, because I thought it was just like one, like maybe assassin team going after the FBI team as a whole. It's like, no, individual assassins were sent after each individual member, which is kind of interesting. But I also appreciate just like how it was told from that perspective, and also just this interesting aspect of Rich kind of affecting everyone in the story in some shape or form. Obviously, like when it came to Kurt and Jane, he was like, go on a date, you two deserve it. Like, when's the last time you had like time to yourselves, essentially? Then when it came to Reed, he's like, you don't worry, that whole Millicent thing, don't worry about it, I got it. Wink wink, nudge nudge, touch my nose. It's like, no, I'm not telling you to do something. I get it. Wink, don't do anything. It's like, no, Rich, really don't do anything. Then when it came to Tasha, he gave her some good advice about like, everything that he's kind of been through, and basically telling Tasha like, everyone around the office hasn't really forgotten about the whole like line about Borden being alive and everything, but because she wants to kind of be there to support Reed, and it's just kind of like, just kind of let me handle that. Obviously, you need to kind of take a step back. Basically saying that he's trying to tell her, like, in a roundabout way, everything's going to be okay. Things will kind of get back to normal eventually. Patterson's on her first date with Jack, and I just love, like I said, just these little bits. It's just kind of interesting that he played a role in everybody's section of the episode, and I just thought it was kind of nice because he kind of put things in a different perspective for Patterson. This is her first date subsequently since the whole Borden situation, and basically like, okay, this is the first date of your life. This is super important. Don't get too much in your own head about it. You look lovely, this and that. It's just kind of interesting, but kind of breaking each bit of episode down. Let's talk about some okay, let's start off with Reed's side of things, which interestingly enough, the whole Millicent situation, that was kind of, because I'm wondering, I was like, because in my mind I'm like, okay, that whole Freddie situation is still going to come back up. It's like, no, what's coming up is the whole Meg situation. Obviously not Meg directly, but indirectly, because it's like, you called Jonathan West here, and it's like, what was up with that whole situation? Like, so like Millicent knows that he was up to something. Obviously that was all about trying to get papers for Meg. It didn't go through, but the fact of the matter is he still did that. Was kind of an abuse of power, so, which Millicent's going to go hard on him about it. And it's kind of interesting because they're at that moment, like, she's like, okay, we're going to share a taxi. I'm like, okay, this is weird. Are we going to find out that she's actually dirty too? It's like, no, it's just weird coincidence. And then she's just talking about, is she trying to make small talk with him in the car? She's like, I have to turn on like parental mode on my phone so I can make sure I put it down. And basically, she's trying to justify everything that she's doing. It's like, I'm just looking for corruption, which Reed's like, I'm all for that. Good. That way, we don't have to have a repeat of her situation. Awesome. Because they've literally had to deal with that mole situation way too many times for comfort when it comes to this to this task force, because it's happened too damn much. Let's not forget, like, it's happened multiple times. But then again, it's like, the fact of the matter is, you're trying to blame me for all of this. You're talking to all these different people. You're not even coming to me directly. You're just talking to all these different people. And you're trying to blame everything on me. It's like, you and your people are the one who messed up. You're the ones that didn't vet her the best, and that's why we're in the situation we're in, and you're just using me as a scapegoat and all of that. Which even she admits later on, like, yeah, we are kind of covering us a little bit, but she's like, hey, the best thing you can do, there's a resolution to this. Resign. And it's like, wait, what? That's really it's like, if you really have nothing to worry about, then it doesn't matter. But he brings up a good point. It's not the point. The fact of the matter is, even if nothing comes up, there'll always be this little string of doubt when it comes to him, especially when it comes from higher ups. It's like, they had to investigate him, so obviously something's a little shady about him. We can't have someone who's been investigated, so it's like, it would ruin his career and everything. It's actually kind of sad because he doesn't have to worry about that situation. Because that storyline took it's like, I was like, maybe he could get to her and take aid in time, and maybe that'll change her. Oh no, she's dead. It's like, wow. Which is like, I guess it worked out for Reed, lucked out for him, because it was her who went to the bathroom first where the assassin was waiting. He didn't die, so I guess there was some, it's a very like ironic, fucked up serendipity. Because it's like the lady that's literally trying to destroy your life ended up dead. So it's like the irony behind that. I mean, I don't know if that'd be irony. Like I said, it's just fucked up serendipity. Just kind of a shame. Like, I mean, even he was like, Reed was like, yeah, we didn't agree, but like, damn, she didn't deserve it. But even Rich is kind of like, yeah, you gotta admit, it's kind of it's kind of good that the lady that was trying to tear you down is dead. So, I mean, it's kind of messed up that I mentioned this, right? And Reed's like, yes, it is. But I did like the fact is that Rich did do him a solid. He's like, yeah, actually, I went snooping in the office. I know, but I didn't find anything. I was like, did he really? I was like, is he lying? I was like, oh, maybe Tasha snuck in there and took care of it for him. It's like, no, Rich lied about it. And it's like, oh, I love that. Because Rich does like it here. This group is like his new group. They are his family, so he is looking out for them. Because also, I think it's also because he knows Reed looks out for him, so he's going to look out for Reed and the entire team, you know? So I think they have his back, so he has theirs. You know, because I feel like any other situation, he could have tried to use this to kind of leverage some stuff in the future. But the fact is, he disposed of it. But to be fair, we don't know if that's the only copy. Like, obviously, Millicent was like, oh, she was going to send that out. So, but the fact of the matter is, we don't know if, like, maybe she sent an electronic one too. I feel like if that was the case, Rich would have caught it because he probably did some, like, snooping anyway, not just physically in her office, probably on some computers and stuff like that. So, there's that. We have the whole situation with Tasha. Like I said, she's still struggling with like the fact is that she feels like she betrayed the team. Like I said, it's kind of interesting because the only people we've seen really kind of the most off kilter about that is Patterson. Reed seems like he's okay with it. Like, you know, like her previous episode, Tasha and Jane had a heart-to-heart about it. It seems like Kurt's okay with it. He hasn't really said anything about it. I'm sure it's kind of around, like, everyone's just still kind of like, that's still kind of rattling in the back of their brains. But I think the one who's the most okay with it is, you know, Jane. So she doesn't judge Tasha too much about it, but Tasha's judging herself. She goes to the funeral of an ex-boyfriend, obviously a longtime friend as well, Ricky. It seems like they basically went two separate ways in life. She went to the police. He went in a gang. Even his sister, Alexis, is a cop too. And it's just one of those situations of they grew up in a very bad neighborhood, and it's just kind of like, it's like one of those neighborhoods that if you stay in it, you're bound to kind of wind up in either dead, part of a gang, and or dead, you know, so... Tasha tried to get out, but the problem is like she and did something she tries to tell Alexis, like, make sure you're joining for the right reasons, because for her, she joined to kind of find a way out, and then she left the NYPD to become an FBI agent. I mean, obviously now she's doing the whole situation with the CIA, which I am curious to see whether she backs down from the whole CIA situation with Keaton or not. She hasn't really come up yet, but I'm curious. Like I said, also, like, I guess it turned out to be nothing, but that whole situation with her in, during the whole Crawford, sting last episode, like, I just felt like Tasha was up to some suspicious stuff, but maybe that's just because I was paranoid. Just the way everything was kind of framed, just like, are they painting her to have some, like, I mean, especially because Keaton gave her a call at the last second. We don't know what that conversation was about, but maybe that could have just been about anything else. And it's just kind of like, okay, Keaton wants her help on more stuff, so it's like more secrets, and maybe that's supposed to be what it was, just like more CIA stuff kind of interfering with her team and everything, and her friendships and her relationships with these people. So there's that. Because the thing is, Tasha was beating herself up even more about this because it's like, with Ricky, she feels like she let him down because like, I wasn't there for you. Just, you know, at the same time, she's, you know, dealing with this whole situation with Patterson, feeling like she wasn't there for her or the rest of the team because she lied, you know, like her other business, her trying to do this and that, like, interfered, you know. It's like in Ricky's case, it's like her need to try and get away from that life, to get away, was so big that it just ended up pushing him away. But Alexis makes her feel like, understand, it's like, no, like, you were always there. No matter what you say, you weren't there, but it's like, no, like, anytime something came down, when it came to like Ricky or me, you would always come back home. You always do. So anything that happened was 100% on Ricky, like, that things kind of played out the way they did for him. So don't take that on your own, you know. So it doesn't seem like her and Patterson are necessarily on good terms again, but I feel like we will see it's there. I think it's going to take a while, but I think eventually it will get to that point. Like, Patterson still, you know, she has a right to be pissed, sure, and I think, you know, given enough time, maybe Patterson will completely forgive Tasha. Ultimately, we'll kind of have to wait and see on that front, but It's actually kind of funny when you think about it in the grand scheme of things. It's like your assassins must not be that good because they failed miserably. All those assassins you sent out, not a single one of them killed any of their targets. Which I guess also that just says like, man, is this team good? Like I said, it's a kind of combination of luck and serendipity and them being very good at their jobs. A combination of all of that. Probably one of my favorite aspects of this episode is the Patterson and Jack date. It's like, oh yeah, so I signed this up when I was with my ex, so you're gonna have to go as Diane. It's like, oh, that's kind of funny. Show up, literally Patterson has to tag Diane. They're making, what is it, ice cream or something like that? The back and forth between them. Then there's the whole like him being like, oh yeah, she's like, wait, are you playing Wizardville? And he's like, oh yeah. She's like, actually, I got something interesting to tell you about it. He's like, wait, first of all, I kind of did something a little naughty. The fact of the matter is I kind of illegally like got everything from this game, like without paying anything. And then Patterson's like, what the fuck? There's a lot of people who count on that because he doesn't know that she made the game that she was about to tell him. And it's like, wow. It's like Jack's kind of a scumbag for that in that regard. I thought that was just so interesting. They learned so much about each other. It's like, okay, it's like Patterson's like, okay, so how much ammo you got? He's like, I don't have any. I didn't bring my gun. Who brings a gun on a date? It's like an FBI agent, which we both are. It's like, to be fair, Patterson, your situation's a little different. I don't know, maybe it's kind of protocol for FBI, even off duty, but I kind of feel like, well, Patterson, that's just because of your experiences. You've become a badass. It's like Jack's probably spent most of his time in the lab. He probably never gets the hands-on stuff like you do. Because particularly, you know, the tattoo case kind of draws a lot of you in. So I think, I don't know, like, it's just your situation's very different. So, and then also like they use his vape pen to kind of cause the explosion to take out the assassin. And but when he's like, okay, I got this vape pen, and she's like, you vape? It's like, cause like, you know, because they had their moments here and there, but they're not really compatible. And that's something they kind of like grew from this. And I think, and it's kind of what Rich was saying, like, this was the first date for the rest of her life. It doesn't have to be like the end all be all, like, oh, this is going to be the next, and you're going to be looking for it. It's like, no, but the fact that you're taking the step and putting your all out there, don't try and sabotage yourself. The fact of the matter is you put it all out there, even though it didn't work out. That means, hey, you can still keep going, that you are better, that you are content with, you know, pursuing your own happiness, essentially. So that is something that kind of worked from it. And I did appreciate her being like, yeah, like, pay for that damn game. Like, stop trying to freeload, pay for that damn game. Which is also, you could be like, well, that's a little biased because it is your game. So you're like, yeah, pay me, mother effer, pay me. I don't know why, just in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like that. Patterson's not thinking like that, but like, there's a cynical side of my brain that's like, yeah, if I built a game, I'm like, yeah, oh, like, I don't, everyone else's situation is sure, but it's like, pay me, you owe me some money for that. Obviously, Patterson being who she is would most likely think of other people. Hence the difference between us, her being selfless and me being very selfish, so. And then the other situation is Kurt and Jane, which I think their whole segment kind of showcased who they are. It's like, oh, we're on date night, but we focus on so much because Jane's like, yeah, that lady's been following us. I'm like 70% sure. She's like, oh, I'm being so paranoid. It's like, oh, maybe she's going to the bathroom. Kurt's like, no, the bathroom's over there. That's one of the exits. It's like, oh, so the moment we walked in here, you tagged all the exits. It's like, they're quite apparent. Because I love that aspect too, because it's like, even though we're, we're under these circumstances, like, we can't cut off the FBI mode. Like, that training's just still there, you just instinctually. And I think that works so well with them, because they almost have, like, their Mr. and Mrs. Smith type of moment of just like, okay, well, you go that way and I'll go this way. Okay, honey, and kiss, and then go their separate ways. It's just, it works so beautifully. But what's kind of interesting is Roman saved her for last. Like, Roman basically gave the speech of like, oh, the fact of the matter is I'm going to make you watch as I kill all the people that you care about. Which Jane kind of interprets that as like, well, no, you're saying that, but it's because you can't kill me. The fact of the matter is just like I couldn't kill you. Which Jane kind of brings that up too in the episode. I thought was kind of interesting. Basically, because she didn't deal with Roman back in season 2's finale, she says that basically everything that kind of happens now is all on her. Which Kurt kind of looks at the silver lining of like, if it wasn't for you letting Roman go, we wouldn't be where we are. We wouldn't know about Crawford. We wouldn't know about Hearst. Probably me and you wouldn't be where we are right now if it wasn't for him. So there's at least something to be thankful about this messed up situation. Like I said, silver linings. It is so interesting because for Roman, when it comes to this whole situation, he's like, oh, this is my new family. But even the like lady that's kind of like Crawford's legal personnel, like even she kind of like goes, oh, in that analogy she used, it's like, oh, you're the shoe. You're like, oh yeah, you're flashy, you're so important to like Crawford for now, but then eventually Hank's gonna just toss you aside, like put you somewhere. It's like, I'm bored with you. Like, I don't need you anymore. I'm kind of done. You know, I mean, his situation is a little bit different because there's a whole Blake situation, which we still don't know how. I mean, last time we saw, Blake was still kind of a little pissed about the current circumstances, but still. Trying so hard to cut out this, like, you know, carve out a new family, that he's cutting out his old family just because, you know, Jane said it herself, like, she's no one, like, whatever part of me that was Remy is gone, which I'm still thinking on some level that might still play a part going forward. I don't know. Because I don't think she'll ever be completely rid of Remy, because there's always going to be stuff from her past as Remy that's going to come back to haunt her. Like, everything's kind of been related to, like, Sandstorm or Crawford, sure, but I'm sure there are going to be things that she did as Remy back in the day that will directly come back to haunt her. It's like, ultimately we'll kind of have to wait and see, but I feel like that could easily be a direction they take the story, because that hasn't ever come back. Like, all her ghosts that have haunted her have been related to Sandstorm and Crawford, but nothing like personal on a level of like, oh yeah, you killed my husband and now I'm coming back for revenge. Not that I remember. There might have been something like that. I'm pretty sure I would remember something like that, so I doubt it. So, but the whole situation did bring up something that Jane was kind of like, okay, you better hope we don't meet again, because the next time we do, I will, like, even she talks to Kurt about it, like, she feels like she has to put Roman down, like, they can't just leave him unchecked at this point in time. So, will she do it? Like, will she be able to put aside the fact that he is her brother, and even with everything that he's done, even when last season with everything he did, she still couldn't do it. So, will she be able to do it when the time comes? I don't know. I mean, it seems like in this situation, it has to be her to do it, but I mean, who's to say it won't be someone else? Like, Kurt won't be the one to pull the trigger instead for her. Hell, for all we know, it might even be Avery who ends up pulling the trigger, which I'm sure Jane wouldn't want that either. I mean, hell, Avery might be the one ultimately be the one that pulls the trigger against Crawford, and then that turns into a whole situation all on its own, you know? So, initially, Roman was going to go and handle things by himself, but the lady was kind of like, nope. That basically everything that Crawford has planned for that land he bought is all. It's kind of like referencing like World War I, of how, like, oh yeah, the shot that was heard all across the world, and basically inferring that. So I guess it's like hell is about to kind of be unleashed on this. The kind of, basically things are going to get super bloody, because it's like, to make this dream that Crawford has, like, even though he has this like almost like, like I said, we know his idea of what he's trying to build. Like, oh yeah, this one country that's run 100% by well-funded military people, rather than it just being bureaucracy and politics that kind of run thing. They're going to be the ones that have no allegiances. They just basically create the world into this perfect utopia. They come in and strike. They do what is necessary. No BS, no legality kind of blocking them, and they have the money to do it, the resources to do it. So that's his mindset. So to get that means carving a bloody path along the way. Just one of those ends justify the means type of thing, which is like, which always baffles me, because it's like, you're a criminal, but I guess like in your twisted way, you rationalize everything. I don't see a rationalization, because it's the same thing as, you know, Sandstorm. I'm sure that's why he funded Sandstorm to do what it did, because it's like, I wonder, was that like whole Sandstorm plan a part of this plan, or was that part one of his plan? And it's kind of like, well, no, now that kind of failed, I guess I got this. Maybe it is a combination, like, well, if things went down with the whole Sandstorm situation, cool, but the fact is it didn't. Oh well, I'll move on. Did he even know about the task force, like, before they start interfering with his own stuff? I mean, because like Crawford probably indirectly, like, it's not like he probably knew exactly what they were doing, but it's like, oh, he works for criminals, and it's like, oh, you want the money? Okay, here's an investment and stuff like that. You know, maybe there's something like that, because I think in my head I'm treating it like he was a lot more hands-on. Maybe he was, but they've never really said it. Maybe they have, but I don't really remember that. They've always just said like, oh, he had a hand in Sandstorm. I don't remember them being like, he pulled all the strings, he set everything up. Like, it just seems like basically he fronted the money to give Sandstorm the resources they needed. So there's also another interesting thing that kind of came up from this episode too, is Jane's tattoos. The fact of the matter is, they could still go after Crawford, because all the tattoos Roman gave her still exist. So they still have means of going after Crawford. Thing is, they don't have the ciphers they need, because Roman would come give them help every once in a while, especially when they need it. So yes, they figured out some tattoos here and there, but it was also Roman kind of playing a part in that too. So until they get his key, they can't unlock all the secrets that those tattoos he gave her represent. I mean, I'm surprised that maybe that on some level that's still on the back of Roman's mind. Maybe he's not worried about it, because that's still a thing on his own that I feel like he should be worried about. It's like all those tattoos Jane has, but I mean, ultimately we kind of have to wait and see. Like I said, a great episode with everything that kind of went down. I'm so curious to see where everything goes from here because it's not over. The FBI, this team is still going to have to do their job while also still having targets on their back. That's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, Roman's not sending any more people, but who's to say Crawford isn't, hiring other people too? I mean, the fact is they are always going to be on edge, which is going to be interesting in their personal lives. In particular, Reed's with the whole Meg situation. I mean, he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. But then there's also the whole Tasha told you how she felt situation, and it's like that's a genie in a bottle. That's a genie you can't put back in a bottle. Patterson's dating life is going to take a little severe hit from this too, because it's like, well, you're all about putting yourself back out there, but it's like that's kind of hard when there's a literal target on your back, So I don't know. We'll ultimately see what the next episode has in store for us. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.